if you go and Google people without eyebrows, you take away one feature and it's like we don't know how to talk to those same people. Now you can go the opposite direction of that, and that is you can draw eyebrows on and it changes how we see people as well.
We're learning all about the incredible techniques of face reading, and Brian's walked us through a couple of amazing examples. Now, Brian, not everyone's going to go to the nth degree and get the manual and go to the training, get the certification to figure out how to
Right.
do all this. Very exciting stuff. Obviously, a lot of applications you've walked us through. Someone's brand new. They just want to, maybe they're a person who is an introvert like yourself, and they want to be able to feel more confident or comfortable at a social event or a social gathering. Maybe that's the reason they want it. Maybe it's someone who's in sales. They just want to understand better how to approach and assist the person looking to buy something and make sure that they're serving them in a manner, meeting them where they're at fundamentally.
Yeah.
What would you say are the top 3 things that would be helpful for someone to understand if they wanted to learn more about this and explore it?
Sure. My favorite to begin with, like I mentioned earlier, is eyebrows. And the reason more and more is because eyebrows lead to eye contact, which is a lost art. But eyebrows tell us so much. So the high and low and the 3 shapes we covered tells you how do people take in information and how do they want it presented to them. So that's enough to be dangerous. And then I go to eye angle because I know, do they want to hear about the upside of things? Are they in the middle or do they angle down? And that tells you how to present the information. So if their eyes angle up, then I know they want to hear about the upside of things, talk about your features, talk about your benefits. If they're even, then they'll listen to both pros and cons. If their eyes angle down, they're worried about the downside. So what does that mean? Let me know that you're not just telling me that your product's the greatest on earth. What are challenges that you've had? Let me know that you've thought about this. So when I used to present, I would say, this isn't the first generation of our product. These are what we learned from these failures that help us improve our product. So I took what's a concern, and then I could then turn it into a feature or benefit. But if I would have just talked about the bells and whistles, people think, oh, this guy's just blowing sunshine. And so you just learn to look at people and figure out, how do they take in information? Do they need time or are they going to make a fast decision? How do they want it presented? Do you present it the straight eyebrows, facts, figures, data? The angled eyebrows, what's their angle? Help them understand it so they can help others. Then the rounded eyebrow, think about the people around them. So you talk about how the friends, the family, the coworkers do it. And then that eye angle, do they want to hear about the upside of things or do they want to hear about the downside of things? And let you know that you've thought this thing through. So those are my simple ones. And for everybody listening, I thought I was brilliant when I bought Subtle Skills, right? It's a good name, but nobody can spell subtle. So if they want to get the cheat sheet, you can literally go to getthecheatsheet.com and it'll redirect you to my website.
Great domain. Love that.
Yeah.
We have some similar ones. We have 7steps.ca, don'tspreadthewealth.com.
Nice.
I love those simple, easy to remember ones. We have cashfollows.com. So all those direct to some of our books, which is great. And that's a phenomenal domain. Now, I'm curious, Brian, we didn't talk about this before at any of the breaks. Leading up to our conversation, you probably had a chance to go check out a LinkedIn photo of me. What are some things you would say about our conversation so far and what you've learned just from your training and your knowledge base?
Do you want to have some fun?
I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, then I'm gonna have you look right at the camera and we'll just do it live. So give me 1 second. I have some cool software. Sketch is an Evernote software that you can get for your Mac. And so just look right straight ahead. All right. So let me go and share the screen so everyone watching can see this as well. Okay, so you can see the picture of yourself here.
I can indeed.
So we'll talk about a few things. So I'll add them and then I'll delete them while we're here. So the first thing is you have this area right here. That's called a brow ridge. So that is a process-driven person. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So if I'm giving you information, I can't do what's known as the waterfall technique, which is take your money and deliver a product. I need to explain what's going to happen during the process so you understand everything the way that it's going to work out. Then you have this part of your eyebrow right here angles away from the rest of your eyebrow. So this is considered, let me do it this way. There's 2 sides to everyone's face. There is a business side and there is a personal side. So let me do this. I'll move it over just a little bit. So we can be 2 totally different people. You're pretty symmetrical in eyebrows, eyes, and everything else. But this little feature right here is known as an access hair. So that's somebody that even though your eyebrows look a certain way, you go by your gut before you make the final decision. That's more on your personal side. You've got a little bit here, but I can definitely see it on this side. So that is called the access hair, and that's when you go by your gut. You have larger ears and smaller eyes. So if you look at the comparison here, so more of an auditory learner, but you also have this wide area right here. So you're a kinesthetic learner and you're an auditory learner. So I would use action words when I'm talking to you. And then I would give you something to hold, and I would use auditory terms because your ear, if we look at it, is larger in size than your eyes are. So I'd say things like, hey, does this sound like a good idea? Do you hear where I'm coming from? Hey, come take a look, come listen to this. I would use auditory words. I'm extremely visual. So even when I hang up the phone with somebody, I say, okay, I'll see you later. But we were having an auditory phone call. So it's just learning to speak other people's language. I'm going to get rid of this, but for a purpose is the fact that you're auditory is you also have another line that affirms that as well. And that is you have this little line right here. So that's what's called a verbal affirmation line. So sincere verbal compliments go a long way if you see anybody with that line right there. So we'll change color so people can see it a little bit better. But that little line you have right there is the sincere verbal compliments go a long way with you. So I used to work with someone who title and pay didn't matter, but praise was important to them. And that's one of the visible signs. If you've ever read the 5 love languages, there's 3 of the 5 on someone's face. If they have fuller eyelids, it's time and attention. This wide area right here, which you do have, is right here. That is somebody who's physically demonstrative, uses action words, kinesthetic, hands-on learner. And then this one right here is words of affirmation. So you have 2 of the 5 love languages on your face when you're dealing with other people. Now, this one isn't so big, but you can still see it right here. So if I do this one, you can see that little line right there. And then the other part that's interesting is you have a flatter upper lip. So with that, that is, you don't talk about yourself until people get the right to get to know who you are. So you have no problem talking shop because you have a larger lower lip right here, but you don't share a lot of personal information until like you decide, hey, this is a person I'm going to open up to. Yeah.
Very cool.
Then high and wide cheeks right here. So lots of energy. You can keep going and going. You've got a strong nose ridge right here. Your eyes are pretty even. Well, they angle up slightly. So go here. So if I draw from inside to the outside, let me change the size of this though, so people can see it better. That's why I love the Sketch software. So yeah, so if you look
can
at your
definitely
eye,
tell you've practiced with this this tool a lot. It's cool.
oh yeah, this is what I do. I'll go and look up people on LinkedIn and just figure out all that information. So going back for everybody who's watching, they're going, oh, well, can he do that twice? Yep. So step number 1, got a brow ridge right here. Number 2, this is the access hairs that you have where you go by your gut. You've got the larger ears, smaller eyes. So when I'm talking to you, sorry, you're double threat here. So you got the kinesthetic. So I'm going to use action words. I'm going to give you things to hold. I'm going to use auditory phrases because you have a smaller eye. This brow ridge is your process-driven person. So step 1, step 2, step 3, let you know everything that's involved. On your personal side, you're going to go by your gut before you pull the trigger. We talked about here, you have a flatter upper lip. So when we say the phrase, keep a stiff upper lip, it means be stoic. Don't share a lot of information. So if you see somebody with a flatter upper lip, if you ask too many personal questions too fast, they go like this. But what you do is you wait. Once they open up, they'll open up about everything, but they're slow to open up. And that's why the number 1 plastic surgery right now is lip enhancement for both men and women.
Really?
Yep. So it's an affect effect thing. So you go and have the affect done. They get their lips enlarged. Subconsciously, we know the phrase, keep a stiff upper lip. So if somebody has larger lips, they're seen as more approachable. They get approached more, and thus they get the effect that they wanted by changing that affect. Then we talked about the verbal affirmation line that's right here. You do have a little bit of a cleft right here. This is the highly adaptable cleft. And that is, we can throw you pretty much in any situation. You'll figure out how to adjust on the fly.
Very true.
And then we talked about the high and wide cheeks right here. And one thing, strong jaws. So if you imagine, the stronger somebody's jaws, it's from latching in. And so that means once you make up your mind, you can latch in, easily hold your position. You don't waffle on things. And it's very difficult once you've made your mind up on something to get you to unlatch that jaw. So people have one shot to win you over. If they screw up that shot, they don't get openings very often.
I love that. And so when you're doing these presentations, obviously, you would use a slide to show that or similar to that on a stage. But I would imagine you do obviously podcasts and Zoom presentations and things of that nature. So do you find that you're doing that live in the similar fashion with people on a regular basis?
Yes. So when I'm meeting people, if I want to pay attention to them, I do. I don't, it doesn't, it's not one of those things that I instantly am like, oh, I'm analyzing their face. But the way that I like to end a lot of presentations is like this, where I'll bring volunteers up because I can tell you anything on PowerPoint is true.
Hmm.
But the way to proof of concept is bring volunteers out of the audience because very few people go to an event by themselves. So they'll come up on stage. I'll say everything that somebody's face says. And usually I don't ask the person, I'm like, are you here with anybody? Yes. Then I'll say, is that accurate? And somebody else go, oh, yeah, it is. So it's people go like, oh, you're gaslighting, you're cold reading people. I'll tell people, show me a picture of somebody on your phone that I can't read. They can't nod. They can't lean in. They can't lean away.
Hmm.
It's a real skill. It's been around since Aristotle. It was part of the academic system until Henry VIII had it removed. The reason it's still around is because authors and artists for character development and attorneys learn it for jury consulting. Thankfully, I met Mac. He changed my life. I went to go prove he was a fraud, and damn it, I couldn't do it. And he became my mentor and my friend, and he just completely changed my life.
Wow. Brian, this was absolutely incredible. Loved it. Thank you so much, not only for unpacking and doing it live on the show for us. I think it's phenomenal. Hopefully, people got a ton of value out of that. Make sure you go and get the cheat sheet because I think that'll be hugely advantageous to anyone watching. I appreciate your time, appreciate you being with us and showing us what your subtle skills are. And for those of you tuning in, please make sure to tune in next week as we continue to unpack the major innovations and the challenges that are facing the entrepreneurs of today as they make a bigger and better, brighter future.